Hey, welcome back to True-Moto-Resto, and on today's video I'm going to do a walk around and a startup on the Kawasaki ZRX1100, sitting right there. Stay tuned. Okay, so this is my 2000 Kawasaki ZRX1100, and I've owned this for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, I guess, something like that. And it's mostly stock, with the exception of a couple of small things. So obviously it's got a Hindle aftermarket pipe on it. I do have the original OEM pipe as well, and it does have front suspension, front internal springs. I don't know if like the cartridge emulators or whatever, different ones installed in there. I do have the originals in a box for that as well. And aside from that, the only other thing that I've done to it is these are quite well known for having a problem with the tensioner that applies tension to the starter and generator chain, which is inside this case. And the problem that they have is when you hit the starter button, the tensioner arm tends to kick at the end of the crank cycle. So it's holding tension on the chain, and then at the end, once you stop cranking, it kind of does this little flick motion, and it's very, very close in here to the clutch basket, to the top plate of the clutch. And on a lot of these bikes, if you take off the oil cap, the filler cap here, and you look inside, you can actually see right there, tiny, tiny little marks on the edge of the basket. No, it's not there, the plate or whatever that is there, the pressure plate. You see tiny little scratch marks. And usually you get those from that tensioner kicking back and catching the edge of that plate. And it's usually only a problem if you are in the habit, which a lot of people are, of pulling the clutch in when you start the bike. It's a pretty normal thing for a lot of folks to do, and that just creates just enough change in the position of that plate that tensioner arm is gonna hit it a little bit. If you have one of these bikes and you never pull the clutch in when you first start the bike, you'll probably never have those marks on there, but it's a pretty normal thing to do. So when I got the bike and I learned about that particular issue, I bought a quick tension tamer, and I swapped out the factory tensioner for a manually adjusted one, and it's from a company called ELS, expensivelightweightstuff.com. So that's what I installed in there, specifically to eliminate that problem with the bike. And in this bag I have this is the factory tensioner and the factory spring and all that kind of stuff. So it's this little gadget here, this tensioner arm, that actually hits that clutch plate and makes all of those little marks on there. So when I did the change on mine, obviously I did a couple of oil changes just out of paranoia, just in case there was any aluminum chips in there, which I never found any. There was nothing inside the cover. But anyway, so now that's been rectified, and that'll be that. That's just my battery tender pigtail. I think the other thing I would say about this bike is it's very, very, very sensitive to suspension setup and tire pressure. When I first got the bike and I just kind of hopped on it and rode it, and I thought, holy cow, this kind of doesn't feel as stable as I expected it to feel. And some helpful people on the ZRX forum suggested that I take the time and go through proper suspension setup for my weight and everything, which I did. And they made some recommendations on tire pressure being slightly higher than recommended from the factory. And so once I went through that process, it was like a completely different bike. And it's just an absolute beautifully built bike, and it's just a beautiful bike to ride. It's comfortable, powerful, it handles well, and it sounds incredibly good, especially with that handle pipe on there. So it's it's a beautiful bike. Just absolutely love it. But I haven't ridden this one for about a year now. I rode it at the very beginning of last season, and then I took it off the road and put the Z1000 on the road for a while. But I might have to put this back on the road this year. It's just too nice a bike to not ride. And the seat is just super comfortable. You can ride all day long, and you don't get the numb bum that you tend to get with a lot of bikes, like that Kawasaki Z1000 over there. It's nowhere near as comfortable to ride as this one. It just isn't. The seating position is comfortable on it. You know, you're not leaned over on the bike too far. Your legs are not crowded or bent too far. The seat's comfortable. It's a great bike. I think the one thing that I did notice when I first got the bike, but I've obviously, when you start going through the process of cleaning these things, this has definitely been repainted. I don't know if you can tell from the picture, the video here, but it's a very slightly different shade of green, but she still looks great. Yeah, I haven't really done a whole lot to it. It's a good looking bike as it is, and it rides well. So really it's just been the tension tamer, oil changes, you know, suspension setup and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to give it a quick dust off because it's been sitting in the shop here getting dirty and dusty. So I'm going to give it a dust off, back it up to the doors, and set up the fan and start it up for the first time in about a year, and we'll give it a run. So I got my my fan set up here. Just keeps the radiator fed with kind of moving air while I'm running it, and also helps to make sure that the exhaust fumes are getting blown out of the shop and don't start to wander back inside. So we'll turn that on, and then we'll see if she'll start. First time in about a year. Started up pretty easy. That's the first time she's been started in 12 months. Cylinder one's a little cold, maybe it's not running on that cylinder yet. Yeah, she's running on all four now. When I first start these things up after being put away for so long, I just kind of like to go around with my infrared laser, or whatever you call it, infrared thermometer, just to make sure all the cylinders are firing. It's a lot better on your fingertips than grabbing a hot pipe. When I run these things like this in the shop, I typically want to run them long enough that kind of put the engine in a full heat cycle, because I don't want to get them to a point where they're not fully warmed up or not fully heated, because then you start getting condensation buildup in the crankcase and all that kind of stuff. So get it all good and hot before I shut it off. The other thing I'll mention on these too, which is a bit of a, I could say a design flaw, is the side stands on these things are, you know, don't go forward enough really. I think you can get modified ones, but it's one of those bikes where you have to be quite careful about, you know, the kind of level surface you're on. And it's probably even safer to put these things in gear when you leave them, because it's quite easy for them to move forward a little bit and then come right off the side stand if you're on an uneven surface. So I know there's quite a few owners of the ZRX that are proponents of leaving them in gear when you park them on that side stand. So 56,000 kilometers on it. Gotta love the sound of that Hindle. The bike is very, very, very clean. I mean, it could use a bit of a, as I said, it needs to be dusted because it needs to be dusted and polished. It's been sitting in the shop for a year getting covered in dust, but generally speaking, it's a very clean bike. You know, 56,000 kilometers, it's in really nice shape. It's not perfect, but it is very clean. Happy to have the original pipe for it as well. Everything works as it should on this thing. little bit of corrosion back here on the rear shock adjusters. Nice snap and crackle on the overrun too when you're riding this thing, and you let out of the gas and it snaps and snarls just beautifully. Beautiful bike. So yeah, I think I just gotta get the cleaning products out and give it a good polish and a good dusting, because it's kind of grubby. So we'll clean the wheels off and whatnot. Try to get a look in her best again. Yeah, I just love that bike. It's just a gorgeous. The kind of the retro naked style motorcycles just look awesome. And this Eddie Lawson replica color scheme is hard to beat. So there you go. There's the introduction and walk around of the ZRX1100. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Talk to you soon. So my OCD got the better of me, and I just had to give it a clean off and a quick polish, knock the dust off, give you one more view of a slightly cleaner bike. So over the next few weeks or so, I'm going to cycle through all the bikes and fire them up, do a bit of a walk around. So if there's one of these that you want to see me fire up before the others, let me know. I'll try to prioritize. It is going to be a bit of a pain in the arse to get the Rossi R1 and the Aprilia out of here, because I've got this lift right here, but they do have to be fired up and run, because none of these have been started or run in the last year, so they all need to be done. The ZX7's already been done. That's fine, but the rest of these need their turn. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.